gentlemen, if you will please introduce yourselves.
They're older, you start.
I'm Paul Beauregard, and what can I say? I'm 97 years old, and I'll try to help you out as much as I can.
Thank you. And you, sir?
I'm Bob Beauregard, I'm his brother, and I'm 91, and we grew up on Ragged Hill on a big farm, and we worked our butts off working on the farm. That's why we're healthy today.
By saying your names again, just your...
He's old.
My name is Paul H. Beauregard, and the reason the H is there, Herbert Frew was my godfather, I guess. That's why they put the H in there. But anyway,
And what was your date and place of birth?
my place of birth was in West Brookfield, at the farmhouse. We didn't go to any hospital or anything like that, anyway, and the place was in West Brookfield, if I hadn't mentioned it before. And I guess that's about it.
And you were born what day?
B?
What day?
Oh, I was born September 3rd, 1919.
And I was born April 5th, 1925, in West Brookfield, a farmhouse, and that's where I lived all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Till I got married. Then I moved on.
And what were your parents' names and the names of your brothers and sisters?
My parents were Joseph and Ida Beauregard.
Elida, really, but they called her Ida. It was Elida.
And you want all my siblings' names?
Sure.
Oh my goodness, I'll start with a...
Bertha was the first.
Bertha was the oldest, and then it was Cecilia, and then it was Ida,
Where the boys come in there, some of them.
and then it was Stella, and then it was Romeo, and then it was
Renald. Renald, that's what his real name was.
Ronald,
Yeah.
and then it was let's see, Patrick. His real name.
Well, that's Renald.
Yeah, Ronald. And after that, it was I think it was Sylvia,
You?
Edna.
Oh, you're in between there.
Okay, Edna.
Sylvia, you.
Paul, Edna, Elsie, no, Robert,
No, Elsie before me.
Oh.
Elsie and then me.
Elsie,
Then
and then
me.
Robert.
That's all of them. There was more, but they all died young.
So
Six more.
So your mother gave birth how many times?
16. 16. I'm the 16th one.
You're the 16th
I'm
child.
the 16th one.
And when did your parents come to West Brookfield?
For a better life, I think. They were working in the mill and they couldn't see where they were going to go anywhere, so they came to West Brookfield, bought the farm, and tried to better their life. That's what I think about it. What do you think?
Yeah. I think his father came down to Gilbertville because there were many textile mills in Gilbertville. Then he went back and he brought the rest of his family down. I think there were 10 children anyway, and they all worked in the textile mills that were in Gilbertville. And Gilbertville was named Gilbertville because George H. Gilbert started the town. The town was nothing. He built 5 factories and he built all the houses in Gilbertville.
The school and the library and the church.
The church.
He built everything.
How long did your parents work in the mill
Only
before they
about
bought
a year and a half. About a year and a half.
Yeah, when he came down from Canada, he didn't work in the factory very long because he had quite a few children. And he said, I'll never bring up my children, on $12 a week.
That's what he was making.
Mm-hmm. And did your parents meet down here in the Gilbertville or in West Brookfield?
Well, they settled in Gilbertville.
But did they meet down here, or did they get
They
married?
met down here and they got married in Gilbertville, and they went to Gardner for their honeymoon. There was a train that used to run from Gilbertville to Gardner, and they went to Gardner for their honeymoon. They
Wow.
got married in Gilbertville.
And then they bought that farm
In
in
1889.
1889?
1889.
The farm was in West Brookfield, but it was only 2 miles, you might say, to Gilbertville. It was maybe 5 or 6 miles to West Brookfield. So
But
we always call ourselves Gilbertville.
we always went to church and school, church and high school in Gilbertville. There was a rural school we went in West Brookfield, District 4, but then the high school was in Gilbertville.
Mm-hmm.
Or Hardwick High they called it, but it was in Gilbertville. It was in Gilbertville.
What was the farm like?
The farm, like,
Yeah, what was that farm
well,
like?
that's all we knew. We worked on a farm when we were old enough. I mean, I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and I had to feed the chickens and clean out the chicken coop. We had maybe over 100 chickens. And part of the chicken coop was set aside for the ones that were hatching when they had babies, you know. And then when we had too many eggs, we trade them at the grocery store for groceries that we didn't raise on the farm. That was part of a farm life.
Yeah.
Plus, as we get older, we had more work to do. We had to start milking the cows. We didn't have electricity then. We couldn't get a milking machine. So my sisters and myself and Bob and my dad,
We all had a certain number of cows to milk.
we all
And
milked
even the
cows.
girls, if they went out on Sunday afternoon for a date, they had to come home Sunday afternoon to milk the cows. They had to come back home to milk, and they could go back out again Sunday night if they wanted, but they had to come home Sunday night because we each had a certain number of cows. The older you got, the more cows you milk. When you're young, you started with one, get a little older, you maybe milk 2 or 3. Then you get older, you milk maybe 4 or 5, and that's the way we got it done. That's the way we got it done.
So you had to be back at the farm twice a day to
Twice a
milk
day,
those
milk the
cows?
cows, yeah. No matter what was going on, holidays, everything, you had to be there twice a day. Twice a day.
And what about fruits and vegetables? Did you
Oh,
grow?
big garden, big garden. My mother used to can 600-700 quarts of everything, carrots, apples, tomatoes,
Tomato.
beets, everything. Anything could can, she'd can.
Sweet
Sweet corn,
cucumber relish,
Piccadilly, relish, and
right? Because there were very few veggies we had to eat. We had a bin in the cellar that contained maybe 10 barrels of apples and another bin that contained maybe 10, 15 bushel of potatoes.
more than that.
And then we'd hang the,
We had a bin half the size of this room, and it would be 2 feet high, and it was full with potatoes in the fall. And one
And-
almost as big with apples. And then another one with carrots and turnips and beets. They were always covered in sand to keep them. There was dry sand, and we covered them with sand.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the winter, once a month, we'd have to go through the potatoes from one end of the bin to the other, in case there were some bad ones, to take them out so they won't spoil the other ones. And the same with the apples. We had to do that once a month. Because half of the cellar was heated and the other half was cold. There was no heat at all, so the vegetables kept good in that part of the cellar. Kept good there.
So the
And the
thing,
cider was in that cellar too. We always made a lot of cider, and that was in the cellar there too.
and it was most of, so your mother canned a lot of the food?
oh
And
my
everything
goodness.
were over a wood stove, and that's all. Wood
A
stove.
couple of my married sisters would come help her to put up tomatoes.
Yeah, and then she used to even can peaches, and they'd big coots of peaches and peel the peaches and work like that. And sweet corn, she used to can sweet corn and everything. Nothing went to waste, nothing.
Um,
And listen, when we had too many eggs, you put them in a crock, a big 5-gallon crock, and by water glass, they called it, and you pack the eggs in that, standing up, and then put something between them, stand another layer, and then cover them all with water glass, and they would last for 3 or 4 months.
That was like freezing them or something, but canning them anyway that you could keep. Because sometimes the grocery store, we used to bring to the grocery stores if they could use them. And sometimes they had too many, so they wouldn't take them. But we would swap the eggs for groceries. We swapped eggs for groceries. But sometimes the chickens would lay more, and we'd have too many. We'd have too many.
what did you have to buy at the grocery store?
Well, flour, sugar, and things like that. But outside of that, that's about all they bought. Flour, sugar, and butter maybe if we didn't make enough. Because we used to separate every Saturday night. My mother used to separate a jug of milk, so we had cream all week long. We always had heavy cream. That's why we all got heart trouble.
And
With it on heavy cream.
and sometimes we'd make butter.
Yeah.
We had a churn.
What was your role in digging up the potatoes and turnips and everything?
Girls
Did you
did it,
do that?
all by hand.
Dig them up by hand. We'd have what they call a potato hook, and that would unearth the potatoes, maybe 5 or 6 in a hill. Put them in a bucket. No, we'd leave them out for a while for they dry,
Yeah.
and the next day we'd pick them up.
Unless it was sunny, we'd pick them up the same day in the afternoon. They'd be dry and we could pick them up.
Mhm.
But they had to dry. Or they'd spoil if they weren't dry when you picked them up.
Mhm.
And every meal we'd have to go out at vegetable time and pick what we needed, what my mother wanted for dinner. And she'd tell us what she wanted. I want some carrots, I want this, I want that. And we'd go out and pick it and she'd cook it. And she'd cook it.
And we'd separate the potatoes. We wouldn't pick them. Well, we'd pick them up, but we call those pig potatoes. We'd feed those to the hogs.
The little ones, any little ones about that big, they went to the pigs. We had enough big ones, we were going to keep the little ones. We were gonna keep them.
How many animals did your father slaughter in a year?
We'd slaughter 2 pigs and 1 bull. In February, we'd kill a bull, but we'd kill a pig for Thanksgiving and 1 for Christmas. And then he'd cut it all up, and he'd put the salt pork in a barrel and salt it. He'd smoke the hams and the shoulders. We had a little smokehouse down there, and
We had a smokehouse right in the cellar where we could smoke the meat right in the cellar. It was built right in the cellar, a real smokehouse. And he'd smoke it down there. But he was a good butcher. He could cut a pig up as good as any butcher. There was no waste when he was done. He had it all cut up. And there wasn't a bit of waste.
they'd use the 4 legs. They'd pull the outer, what should I say, the outer shell or skin of their toes. They'd pull that off, and then they'd even use that, incidentally too. They would save the blood of a pig. They'd make blood sausage. I don't, and that was, sometimes you get about 10 quarts of blood from a pig, and she'd make blood sausage.
The minute they shoot them, they'd hang them up, and they'd stab them in the throat, catch the blood in a pail, and use it, and try to put salt in it right off there so it wouldn't curdle. Yeah.
But I wouldn't eat it.
Anybody did. I don't think none of the girls did.
My mother and father would love it, and I had a nephew that would go for miles to get blood sausage.
Then they always made salt pork and everything else. My father used to eat that. It's one that he lived as long as he did. In the wintertime, he'd keep it in the snow to keep it. And then he'd take it in the morning, slice a piece off and fry it in a frying pan and eat that with eggs. That was his breakfast. We never no freezer or nothing, so the snow was the freezer. The snow was the freezer.
But this blood sausage, in addition to blood, they put various spices in it and salt pork in it and various other things. I don't know everything that they put in it, but that's what made it. It wasn't just pure blood.
Right.
And then they would put it in the animal, the small intestines. They'd take those out, clean them, tip them inside out, scrape them, put them back in salt water for the evening. Then the next day, we had a big industrial meat grinder, and you put the end of the casing into a funnel like and turn the grinder.
You fill it up.
About every 6 inches, you'd twist it 2 or 3 times and then continue cranking, filling until the intestine was all used up.
But it was all fresh pork and everything right from the pig that day. There was nothing cooked or nothing. There was everything right from the fresh pig, the pork and everything else. When that blood sausage was fresh. Was never cooked or nothing.
How'd they preserve that blood sausage?
It didn't last long, I'll tell you.
They'd eat it.
It was eaten in about a week. No, we keep it in the. We didn't have refrigeration then. We had an ice box. We'd keep it in there. But I guess it would keep. And then naturally she'd make her own sausage, and that was made with various ingredients from the pig and
Yeah.
mixed it all up and that way put it in casings.
What about baking? I know your mom was a great baker.
Cook. On Saturday it was nothing to make 12, 15 pies, some hot cross buns and some cinnamon buns and all, and buying baked beans and everything else, and by Monday everything would be gone. Then she'd have to start making cakes for the rest of the week.
But
we'd live on cakes.
And we only had a wood burning stove, and how she could keep the temperature just at the right temperature, right, to make pies and all that, but she managed. They never it came out burnt.
You know, and she'd be kneeling the dough Saturday morning, there she'd be gonna make us hot cross buns and bread and everything, and she was a hell of a cook. Never burnt nothing. I don't remember having anything burnt. You know, with the cooked wood stove.
It's incredible. So what was a typical breakfast?
Typical anything we wanted. Cereal. Sometimes we eat cereal with cream. Bananas with cream. Sometimes bananas with heavy cream. Cereal. Oatmeal. Whatever we wanted.
Oatmeal was good. We used to love oatmeal.
With eggs. My brother Pat, nothing for him to eat 6 eggs for breakfast. Toast and everything else, and home fries.
Then I had a brother-in-law. He would break 2 eggs into a glass of milk, uncooked eggs now.
And eat them raw.
Drink that, and that was his breakfast before he went out to work.
So your father was busy with the animals?
Peddling ice and milk first in the morning and ice in the afternoon.
He'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we were older. He'd holler at us, "Time to get up."
We'd milk the cow and he'd go out peddle his milk.
Yeah.
Then he'd come back at noontime and hitch on a wagon with ice and go peddle ice in the afternoon to the restaurants and the stores, so they could, for their ice boxes, so they'd have something.
One big wagon, we call it the ice wagon.
Yeah.
It had big high sides on it, and we'd cover it with a canvas.
So there was always a hired help home doing the work. He
There
was
was
gone most of the time.
There was 2 hired men for a long time.
Mhm.
Owen McHugh and John Mazak.
Yeah.
And back then, they were happy with $1 a day.
Yeah, that's what, room and board and $1 a day. That's what they would get. And they
Room and
worked
bo-
too, from morning till night and all, and they wouldn't stop for coffee and donuts or nothing else. I mean, they ate breakfast and you went out and worked till noontime. You come in for dinner, 12 to 1, we'd always stop for dinner, and you go back out at 1 o'clock and stay till you were done. Then have supper.
In the summertime, haying was a tough job.
Yeah.
We had to bring in hay in the barn for the animals in the wintertime.
And it was hot as hell, and like his son now says, "How did you work with no air conditioner?" Well, we don't have no air conditioner in the barn. He couldn't understand how we'd stand it in the barn. I bet sometimes it was 120 degrees in there, so hot. No circulation, no nothing.
Easily.
Dusty, dirty. No, but had to do it. If you wanted to live, you had to do it.
You raised your own hay there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Everybody.
How many acres did you have?
300. Well, 296, I got somewhere around there, but just under 300.
We call it 300.
Really, it was the biggest farm in West Brookfield. It was the biggest
Then,
farm.
in addition, after Labor Day, you started cutting corn, because we had a silo. You had to fill the silo with corn, and that was a big job also.
And your father had a still at one
At
point?
one time, he made a little moonshine, yeah.
For himself.
Yeah. Got caught, but then I guess I think it cost him $100. But then one time they took all the cider away from him. We had about what 8 barrels of cider.
18 barrels.
18 barrels of cider down, sell it in big 50-gallon barrels, and they took them away. And they said they dumped it, but I think somebody got it. But they took it anyways.
Some Mr. Barnes came in with a couple of men. They took it out of the cellar. What are you gonna do with it now? Oh, we're gonna throw it in the river. Yeah.
Bet it went in the river. Went in somebody's stomach someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the fall, we'd pick apples in the pasture, wild apples and everything else, to bring to town to make cider. Because we had 3 orchards. And we picked them apples, but if we didn't have enough, we'd go out in the pasture, all the wild apple trees, and we'd pick apples there to have more apples to get more cider. And my brother Pat would leave early in the morning with the wagon, with the barrels and the apples, and he'd go to Ware. And if he got home by dark at night or later, he'd be doing good. So they'd make the cider. And you'd come back with your own apples, or whatever apples you took, you'd come back with that cider. But he'd leave early in the morning to try to beat everybody else. And going down the hill, there was no, too heavy for the horse, there's no brakes on the wagon, so he had to take a chain and chain the wheel to part of the wagon so the wheel would slide so it wouldn't push the horses down the hill. That's the only way he could go down the hill.
There was brakes on it many years ago when he brought ice down, but then that brake wore out, and so they did use the chain.
Put a chain tied around the wagon and wheel, and so one wheel would be sliding to hold it back.
And what did your mom do besides cook and take care of you kids and do all the canning? And
Sewing,
did she
maybe.
do the sewing?
She'd
Monday was washed. Every Monday, I don't care what the weather was, Monday, and she'd hang the clothes out and it'd freeze. She'd bring it in, you could stand the dungarees up in the corner and everything else, they'd stay. And it was Monday. Tuesday was ironing day. Wednesday was mending day. And then Thursday she had some time, she'd do it to herself, whatever she wanted to do, but she always had plenty to do.
She always made all the clothes for the
Yeah,
girls.
And the boys had all hand-me-downs, she'd do them over and over, and darn stockings, we were stockings with all kinds of darning on them and everything else, but that's what we had to wear. Either that or freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at night, they'd play cards for a little while, or else she'd make crochet, she loved to crochet, and she loved to make rugs. She loved to make
Oh yeah, she'd braid 3 strands of cloth into a braid to make rugs.
rip it all by hand. She made some rugs sometime, 10 feet around.
Wow.
Lester still got one big one that she made, a big, big one. Yeah.
And then when you kids started going to school, you went to that school that's right near your farm, right?
It was a 1/10 of a mile away from the farm.
You know, my brothers were janitors there. They get 75 cents a week to bring a jug of water and light the stove and sweep the floor. And they got 75 cents a week.
It had a crock with a button on the bottom. You'd press the button and fill a drinking cup, and that lasted all day.
You had 8 quarts of water to drink for the day. That's what we had.
Well, depending how many children were there. If there was more, you had to bring 2 cans of water.
One year there was only 4 in the whole class, the whole school. 4 kids. That was it.
What were the ages?
Ages, well, from first grade to 8th grade. First grade to 8th grade. And the same teacher taught us all.
She'd tell the first graders what they had to do, and then she'd get help from the upper grades. You take care of the first grader for a few minutes until they had a chance to get to you.
Yeah, and then she'd do the same with the 2nd or 3rd grade, well, you take care of the younger ones, and she'd go on, so she could work on the older ones.
What time did school start?
8 in the morning.
8 to,
And we had recess at 10 o'clock, 15-minute recess, go to noon time. And then from 1 o'clock, 12 to 1, there was dinner time, and then it was all done at 3:30.
and we'd always walk home for dinner because it wasn't that far. Like I said, only a 1/10 of a mile away.
Then the teacher used to board at the house, so that made some extra work for my mother. Teacher always boarded there. The teacher then, when we started, when they get out of school, college, they come up there, they were getting about $400 a year for teaching. And they paid my mother, I think it was $5 a week for room and board. And we didn't have running water. They stayed upstairs in the room, she'd bring them up a pitcher of water and their pot, and that was it, and they were happy there. Not even a heated bedroom. They were happy living there.
Wow.
I remember when I first started, I started in 24, I think it was 25, a teacher came from West Brookfield and she had a Model T Ford. And anyway, you know, those things in the wintertime were very hard to start. But anyway, she managed to get there every day. And then later on, the mailman, the roads were so muddy he couldn't come with a car. He'd deliver the mail with a horse and buggy.
Then before the teacher stayed at our house, she used to stay down with Mooney's, and that was 1.5 miles, and she walked every day, back and forth. It snowed, she never missed a day though. She'd be there on time. She'd be there on time. Some days we'd get home from school because the stove wouldn't want to go for some reason. It couldn't heat the school, so if school wasn't warm by 9 o'clock, they'd dismiss us and send us home. Because some days the stove didn't want to take off and burn or something. There wasn't no draft or something, so we could go home. And they talk about hazardous too. And about the week before school started, this guy, Percy Cregan, used to come up from West Brookfield and oil the floor. He'd take some oil, floor oil, and dump it all over the floor with a mop, and he'd spread it all over. And sometimes when school started, that wasn't even dry yet. There'd be puddles of oil here and a low spot and puddles there. And that's the way we...
And a wood stove?
And a wood
Yes,
stove.
wood stove.
Yeah, that was no fire hazard.
But no, the school started on Labor Day, so we didn't need heat right then, you know. So I guess it wasn't dangerous with the oil puddles on the floor.
The F.A. Carter from West Brookfield used to bring the wood to school. They bought the wood from him, then later on my father was selling the wood, but for a long time it was F.A. Carter would bring the wood up.
3 cords, and it'd last all year.
Who would get the wood stove going?
Well, the janitor in the morning, my brothers, when they were janitors, and then the teacher had to take care of it the rest of the day.
For a while, I was a janitor. I'd have to start the stove in the morning, sweep the floor,
Bring the water.
bring the water. Right.
Did you guys, at school, what was a typical day like? You had your lessons, and did you do any games, music? Was it
Not
just...
in them days.
It-
Said the morning prayer, saluted the flag, and then that was about it. And you just sat down, and if you were bored, you listened to the other class, what they were learning and stuff, but it was
They had a piano in there, though we do some singing once in a while.
a teacher come up from West Brookfield, Miss O'Day, teaching how to sing. Then the school nurse used to come from Warren once a year and check us out, see if we're healthy.
Yeah.
She used to come. Mrs. Dumas. See,
Gladys Dumas.
yeah.
And did you have sports?
No. Played baseball out in front of the school, that's all. Recess time and noontime, no sports, no nothing like that. There was no sports.
And the bathroom was...
Outside, you had to go out the building and around the back.
There was 2 holes for the men and 2 holes for the women.
And the petition didn't even go to the ceiling. The petition went there where the roof went, and it was open up from the top, was all open.
And during the winter, believe you me, the
didn't
visits
stay
were very
long.
brief.
You didn't stay long.
Well, it wasn't so bad for the men, but for the women, oh my God, that was terrible.
And when did you go to high school? Did you go to that one-room schoolhouse for...
8 years.
For 8 years,
Then he went
okay.
to high school. Then he went to Hardwick High School. My father had the job, school bus. He used to take them to school, all the kids. He got paid for taking the kids from West Brookfield to Hardwick High School. Was always in a car. He never had no bus because there wasn't that many kids, but he had the job to get the kids to school. Then when I got old enough to have my license, I used to drive and keep the car there all day and take them home at night.
Yeah.
There was no school bus licenses or nothing in them days.
What was high school like?
Well, just like typical high school,
It was
I guess
just-
back then.
A big change though from the little school with 4 or 5 kids and going there. Well, my class had 20 when I started, freshman. I don't know how big his was. Couldn't have been much bigger. But in the high school, there was 4 rooms. There was a freshman room over here,
Yeah.
the sophomore room here, the junior room over there, and the senior room here, and the auditorium upstairs. And that's all it was in the school. That's what it was.
Must have seemed like a big school.
Well, it did then, because going from the little 3 or 4 kids and go to that, but it was quite a change. It was quite a change.
How about religion? I know that church was an important part of life growing up, wasn't it?
We went to church every Sunday, no matter what.
Couldn't miss.
We wouldn't miss church. We wouldn't miss church.
And
Holy days we'd have to go to, and
my mother would take the horse in with the carriage. It held, I think, 4 or 5 people. Anyway, you see, before we had a car, she'd take all the kids to church in that with a horse and wagon.
and she didn't think too much of the horse, it was too fancy, so she'd pack the horse quite away from church, and they had to walk, because she didn't want nobody to see the horse. Because she didn't like the horse she was using, so she'd pack up beside the road and leave the horse there, tie the horse, and they'd all walk to church.
Because she was embarrassed by the
With
horse?
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd.
What was wrong with it?
Well, I don't know, she just didn't think it was nice enough to go to church, I guess, or something.
It was a working horse, a draft horse they called it, and some horses are made for
Buggies,
for buggies.
and this was a work horse. Not a pacer, the buggy horses, they used to call them pacers. This was just a regular work horse. But no, we never missed mass, we had to go to church.
You know the difference between a pacer and a trotter?
No.
A pacer, his front foot and his back leg, they go together. See, but a trotter,
Runs.
he trots.
But one side goes together and the other side goes together.
That's a
That's the
pacer.
difference.
Oh. And what about activities? What was there to do in West Brookfield? You mentioned something about a social club?
Well, the Wickabog Valley Association would go every 2 weeks. They'd have a dance and would put on a play first. They'd make out a schedule for the year. Whoever was in charge of that particular 2 weeks had to have some kind of a program. So they'd make a program.
There was play.
There was curtains, you'd close the curtains, they were on a piece of wire, anyway, so they could get dressed and everything behind that curtain,
Put on their costumes.
then put out some
Some kind of little skit.
little
anyway.
skit, a play,
And then
so sometimes
then
just singing.
serve refreshments, and then after that they dance and they take a collection. Sometimes they collect $2, $2.50.
They'd pass a dipper around and some guys would say, I'll see you next week, and
Yeah.
they'd drop a dime or quarter, wasn't much, I'll tell you that.
They collected $2, $2.50. The music would get 50 cents, and somebody else would get, because my sister Sylvia was a bookkeeper there for a long time, so we knew what the heck was going on. And the
Whatever she collected, she had to
divided
distribute.
up for everybody else.
There was a piano player and another guy played drums and another guy played sax. And that was the music they danced to.
Yeah. But
Did-
we
was-
never went to no activities downtown, because I don't know what was going on, but we never went downtown to nothing. We never went downtown.
Where was this social club?
It was at District 2 school, right near where he lives, right near where, yeah, not too far from his house. It's right there, the District number 2. That was the social club.
They turned it into a house now.
Yeah.
Mrs. Smith made it into a house.
Yeah. And that's where the party was.
And that was how often would there be a party there?
Every other Tuesday.
And was it for kids and adults?
No,
or
no,
everyone?
just adults.
Oh, just adults.
Well, anybody could go, but mostly adults.
And the desks were all fastened to a piece of board so we could slide them off to one room, you know, give us more room to dance.
There was 6 desks in a row, but they were on like a furring strip, and they could push them all to the corner so they'd have the whole room to dance and put on the skit. Then when we leave, we'd have to put them back in place. And
Get ready
sweep
for
up.
class the next day.
We'd have to get to school all ready for the next day.
And did you have square dances in your barn ever? Or?
Yeah,
Oh.
one, two, we had 4 of them.
When the barn was new, before the cattle, the hay went into it, my sister and my older brother decided we should have a barn dance. And that building now was over 100 feet long, 40 feet wide, all open. So anyway, they had polkas and every other kind of dance you could think of.
And after you made one, everybody said, oh, you ought to have another one, you ought to have another one. So I think we had 3 or 4.
We had 3.
Yeah, but no, we weren't no worry about nobody getting hurt or nothing. Then there's little narrow stairs they had to walk up to go dance, and all we only had lanterns. We didn't have no lights.
No, there was
We had
all
4 lanterns
kerosene
hanging in the
lanterns.
barn. 4 kerosene lanterns hanging in the barn, because we didn't get electricity till '37. And there was only kerosene lanterns in there. But they all had a good time. They wanted another one, so.
Then a guy played accordion, another guy played a saxophone, I guess it was, another one played a clarinet, and that was it.
I don't know how much they paid him in them days, but would have been a heck of a
It
lot.
wasn't much, don't worry. Because I think the admission was a quarter.
Yeah.
We charged a quarter for them to get in, come in.
But the barn filled up though every time. Everybody liked to come.
Well, we put posters down at Ware, in Gilbertville, in South Barry, in West Brookfield. Barn dance at a certain date, you know. Come and enjoy yourself.
Then not only enjoyment in the summertime, there'd be a bunch of people swimming there, because all the neighbors would come up the pond swimming, so every night there'd be sometimes 12, 15 kids up there swimming. That was our only pastime. We'd all go to the pond and swim at night after work.
There was no other activity, so even on Sunday afternoon, because I say there'd be 20, 25 people there.
They're swimming, because there's nothing else to do, so they'd all come to the pond and swim. They'd all come up there swimming.
We had a diving board down the other end. They could dive if they wanted to.
Really? I didn't know that pond was that deep.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it isn't now, but it was real good then. My father would cut ice, and you could look at that ice, it was just as clear as that water right there when the ice come off of the pond. And that was just as clear as could be. Well, they used to sell it down there in hotels, and the restaurant got it, and they'd use that in their drinks and everything else. The icy paddle, you wouldn't do that today. But in them days, that was legal. That was legal. But that was only enjoyment we had was the pond, and then at night, there were lots of times we'd walk from the farm to 3 or 4 neighbor kids, and some of the other neighbors, we'd walk down. There used to be the gas station where the Rock House Reservation is. There was a gas station there used to sell penny candy, and we'd walk down there at night and get penny candy. We had a nickel to spend or a dime. We'd go down there, walk back. That was our entertainment. If we went swimming, we'd be doing that.
So you were talking about the pond and swimming at the pond, and I know there was a family tragedy at that pond. Could you tell us what happened?
Well, that day, the teacher let us out of school early, maybe 2:30 instead of 3:30. So we all gathered at the pond, and the outlet never freezes. And so she ran fast and started sliding, without skates, and she got to the edge where water leaked out of the pond, and she fell through. She fell into the cold water there.
This is your sister.
So I tried to get her, and my sister Edna, she fell in also, but with my help, she was able to crawl out. But by that time, Elsie was in the water too long. So my two brothers, Romeo and Pat, were chopping wood, for God's sakes, maybe a mile from the place. So Sylvia and I ran to where they were, and they ran and they took my sister out of the water, brought her in the house, gave her artificial respiration, and the teacher came down and did the same thing, but anyway, nothing worked.
But there was a big ledge on this side of the pond, and they'd run on that ledge, and then they hit the ice and they would slide. And then maybe as far as from here, go to the street, they could slide on the ice, but then that's where it wasn't frozen on that side, and they slipped too fast. But they did it 3 or 4 times before, and they were all right, but this time they didn't stop. And they just went a little too far, and that's what happened.
So they're just sliding on your shoes,
Yeah,
not
on the shoes.
skates.
No skates, no nothing. It's just on the shoes. Just on the shoes. Because they'd run that big ledge, and that'd give them a good start, and the minute they hit the ice, they'd stop, and they could slide. No sleds, no nothing, just on their shoes. Just on their shoes.
And how old was Elsie?
She was in the 1st grade.
No, that was 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was 9.
She was 9.
Yeah.
So that's a tragedy that took a long time.
Then I got another brother sliding. We used to go sliding a lot there in the wintertime, and he hit a stone, he lost an eye. And that was in the wintertime, and the neighbor hitched up a horse and took him up to the farm. And then they had to take him to the doctor, then he lost an eye. And he was just you never knew what his eye, you couldn't tell, but he lost a side of his eye by hitting a stone. He hit a stone.
He was 7 years old then.
Yeah.
He always wanted to go faster and faster. Well, anyway, he found a hill where they really could go fast. It was down by Art Mundell's somewhere. I don't know why they got way down there. But anyway, yeah, the neighbors saw how bad he was, so she hitched a horse wagon, took him up to the farm. That was maybe half a mile away. Then in the farm, they put him in a car and brought him to Palmer, because that's where the nearest the eye doctor was anyway, and he could see it was all swollen. But anyway, the result of that, it killed a nerve anyway, so he was never able to see out of that eye.
But in the winter, we could leave the farm and we could slide way down to Route 32, which is 1 mile and 4/10 without stopping. And then we'd walk right all the way back up and we'd get back home and, oh, you want to go again? Sure, sure. So we'd go down again and slide down. And we'd be out till 9, 10 o'clock at night sliding.
They scraped the roads, but they never sanded them. So
Them days,
they were packed.
packed ice.
Yeah, there was good
And
sliding.
it'd be tracked almost where the cars would go, it'd be rounded like this, and you wouldn't even have to steer the sled. You just sat down, the sled would follow the track and just go. We had a toboggan and sled, and there'd be a lot of all the neighbor kids would be sliding there. We'd have maybe 10, 12 kids sliding.
That was the only entertainment we had
Yeah.
in wintertime.
It sounds like fun.
Go sliding.
How did you harvest the ice from the pond?
Oh my goodness.
Just like a modern thing there.
That was a big production.
Big production. They
Every
have to mark
neighbor.
it. We have to go out and mark it first with a horse, with a saw, ice saw, and you go back and forth. And Dad had a thing that you flip over so it goes straight, and it would cut it maybe about 6 or 8 inches deep, and you'd make the big square that you needed, and then that precision was done. And then after that, you had to take a hand saw and saw through, and you made a sluice way where it went up into the ice house, and then they'd keep sawing there. A couple of men would saw, and they'd break it off in pieces, and a horse would pull it up into the ice house. There was a run, they called it the run, and it'd come up, and it'd go up maybe 4 feet or so, and then it'd fall and it'd go into the ice house. And then when that much got full, you'd take that out, and you'd go up further, and it would bring it in. And there had to be 2 men in the ice house to catch it the minute it landed. It would freeze to pack them right up good and tight, so that there couldn't be no air between them or they'd melt. So they had to pack them good and tight.
Where was the ice house?
Yeah, it's gone now,
Gone,
but
but right across the road from the barn, right straight from the barn, right across the road. Right across, and then when it was full, you had to cover it with sawdust, that's what kept the ice, and the ice house was about 8 inches wide, and that was filled with sawdust. Then when you're all done, you covered the top with sawdust, and it would last all
Yeah.
summer long.
It lasts all summer?
yes, the walls were double, and it was filled with sawdust. And then maybe about a foot of sawdust on top of the ice.
And every time you want some ice, you scrape the sawdust out and take it to ice, and then you have to put the sawdust back over the ice.
And your father sold ice?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
sold ice, yeah. Yeah, and in Gilbertville,
At the stores,
and the grocery stores, and the hotel.
no.
There was a hotel in West Brookfield?
No,
Gilbertville.
Oh, in Gilbertville.
Two hotels in
The
Gilbertville.
Windsor Hotel and the Union Hotel.
And the other one's in Ware too.
And what about your house, going back to your house? It was, how big was it, and what did you do for heat and
60
lighting?
There were 16 rooms, and we used to have gas lights. We had a generator that would make gas. It would take carbide, and it was a big fancy operation anyway, and this carbide would fall down, and a couple drops of water would land on that, and it would make gas, and that gas would light the lights, and that went to the house in the barn, and that's what we had. But that was modern in them days. There weren't many people had that.
You certainly couldn't get carbide today,
No, you couldn't buy that today. That's what you put in. With 2 drums of carbide would every last
6 months.
6 months or so. And then we had to clean it out. There was all this big liquid like whitewash stuff on the bottom. Had to clean it all out and fill it up again new and start again for another 6 months. But that was piped in the house and in the barn with them lights. And then the year that we got the electricity, my brother Romy was an electrician, and he wired all the houses, and so he hooked the gas pipe, the gas lines and everything else, and him and his sisters were at the social at a schoolhouse, and they come home that night, and oh, what fun, they're putting the light on and off, and because you had lights, you never had that before. Well, the gas stayed between the walls, and then it blew the kitchen ceiling right down where they would put the lights on. All the plaster and everything else.
The
come
gas
down
didn't have a chance to disappear.
Yeah.
So it was trapped
between the beams,
two
the
ceilings,
floor joists,
the floor and the ceiling.
and they put the light on. Once it didn't bother, but they were at night. They tried it 2 or 3 times, and down come the ceiling. My father and mother weren't too happy.
And
But we got a new ceiling out of it.
But we never had running water. My mother just had a pump till that was 37. So we never had running water till 37 when we got electricity. And I don't think they put the pump in right off. I think it was the next year.
Next year, right.
So it was 38 before we got running
Put
water.
a gasoline engine pump down the cellar. It pumped into a large tank, a 300-gallon tank. And then there's also pressure along with the water. So after it reached a certain number of pounds per pressure in there, then the engine would shut off. But and then we had 2 hot and cold faucets in the kitchen.
But before that, it was just a hand pump. She had to pump everything with the hand pump.
But it was a big tank then.
how did you bathe?
How do you bathe?
Yeah.
In a galvanized tub. Galvanized tub. Warm up some water on the stove, and the stove used to have a water thing in the back.
A wash tub.
Wash hot stove and water in there, and then warm up a couple extra tubs, and take a bath.
We didn't bathe every day, don't worry. We bathed once a week.
Saturday night was bathing night to go to church Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Saturday night was bath night. And sometimes you use somebody else's water too. There
Yeah.
wasn't that much water. You use somebody else. Oh, that water's not dirty.
There's a tank on the end of the stove which would heat water, plus we'd put a boiler on the stove to
Heat more.
add additional water.
What about the plumbing and some kind of flushing system for the bathroom?
Well, only we had an outhouse, but we had a modern outhouse because it was built on the back of the house. There was 3 holes in it, but it was made with a big cement trough, maybe as wide as these 2 chairs here, and it was shaped like this. And then there was a drain from that went out to the leach field, but all the water that used in the kitchen sink would flush that hole out and wash everything right out. It was modern for its day.
Yeah, it was like a
flush toilet.
flush toilet.
That was modern. A lot of people didn't have that.
No, a lot of people had an outhouse, for God's sakes,
Well, from the
25
house.
feet from the house.
No, it was hooked right to the house anyways.
Yeah, it's warm in the summer, in the wintertime. We didn't have to go outdoors. Look at the house next door. It was in the shed.
Shed, that's right.
Did you have to go outdoors?
Glasgow was up on a hill,
Yeah,
and I don't know what cow it was.
go outdoors and walk quite a distance Well, of course, back then, a lot of them had some kind of a big pot, they'd urinate in it.
Dump it in the daytime.
Daytime, they'd empty it.
Hmm.
Well, they didn't want to go outdoors and freeze.
But we used to pretty much rather, every noon after dinner, we had what they call a sewing room and had a couch in it. And every noon after dinner, I don't care if it was 5 minutes or 15 minutes, he would go take a nap. And he'd always wake up at 1 o'clock. We'd say, well, gee, I hope we sleep later today, because if we'd gone up the night before, we were tired or something. We'd say, gee, I hope we sleep. But every day, he'd wake up at 1 o'clock and he was ready to go again. I don't care if he slept 5 minutes or 20 minutes. He would wake up at 1 o'clock and it's time to go. It was time to go.
Back to work.
Whether they're cutting corn or cultivating corn or cutting hay, yep, there was always a job ahead of us.
We'd go out and then we didn't worry about it. We'd go out after dinner and in summertime, we'd lay right on the lawn, right on the grass, and we'd nap till 1 o'clock as long as he did. But,
Back then, I guess, what do you call those, deer, not deer ticks?
Deer ticks,
ticks. I guess they had none because
We didn't have
we
none.
worked in the hay fields for the last
pasture,
time.
looking for the cows in the pasture. We never had no ticks on us.
Never, no. But I think they're more numerous today.
What about World War II? Was there some kind of exemption for farmers?
Every 12 cows, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I was at 1A, and then my father went to the draft board, and he says, how in Sam Hill am I going to take care of the farm my size by myself? So they put me in 4A, so that's where I stayed.
That'd be too, for me too. If you had 12 cows or more, you were exempt. They figure you produce enough food to supply them with, so you were exempt. So we were both exempt.
Of course, back then, gas was rationed, and beef was rationed, but we never suffered. We'd kill a chicken if we didn't have anything to eat. We'd kill a chicken.
For the farm, we got all the gas we wanted, so all the gas we needed. So
To run
we
the-
were set.
Well, I guess maybe focusing on West Brookfield a little bit. Like, what changes have you seen in West Brookfield over the years?
Well, I'm trying to think.
Well, I'd say the big change when they took Jimmy's lunch out of the corner there
Yeah,
on Route 9 and 67. There used to be a lunch cut and a diner there, Jimmy's Lunch, and that's gone. They made the intersection there. There used to be a drive-in in West Brookfield behind the Birches, and that's gone. That was there when I was a kid. There was a drive-in there. You don't remember that? You remember that drive-in? Yeah, a lot of people you tell them that and they don't
no, I don't
believe it.
remember that drive-in.
A drive-in movie or?
Yeah, drive-in theater. Right behind the Birches, way down over the hill.
There's still one in Leicester.
Yeah. That was there. That was a drive-in there, and Jimmy's gone. We remember when they made the pond up the Rockhouse Reservation there, because this Mr. Mundell used to walk by the house every day to go up there, and him and Mr. Carter made that pond by themselves with wheelbarrows and stuff. That pond, it's a reservation there by the pond.
I don't know if you've ever been in there.
Yes.
Yeah, they made that dam by hand,
Wow.
Mr. Mundell and Mr. Carter. He
Yeah.
used to walk by the house every morning, go to work there, and come back at night just about trudging along. And
They never had a car.
No.
They walk every day. As a matter of fact, when Peter left the camp where he lived in, in the cellar hole,
Yeah,
they'd go up there and finish cutting wood that he didn't cut.
Mundell's wood, Walton Hutch.
Yeah, Walton Hutch.
Huh.
Hutchins was his name, but he
Yeah.
always went by Hutch.
But Hutch, he's the one who worked with Mr. Carter to make that dam at the reservation.
Right.
He was the one who worked up there.
And I know you've had some interesting stories about some interesting people in West Brookfield when you were growing up, like, I don't know if you want to share a couple of those
I can
about
tell
some
you.
eccentric.
I can tell you one that was not
Characters.
very nice,
Which one was that?
about Myrtle.
Oh,
We had this woman, Myrtle was, well, she was still in the 8th grade. And her mother used to come up and nurse her every noontime to give her dinner. Myrtle needed her dinner. She'd come up to nurse Myrtle, and all the other kids would be sitting out there on the lawn playing, and we'd go home for dinner. We didn't see her so much, but she'd come up every day to give Myrtle a dinner. She was in the 8th grade. Myrtle had to eat.
time to give her a tit. That's
Yeah.
what he'd say.
Yeah.
Hey, that's great. Leave that in there.
Yeah.
We'll leave
Yeah.
that in there.
So what else did we have exciting up there? Not too much on the hill. The things were dead. Well, we had a neighbor who was kind of stupid anyway. There was a big lot of snow that winter. And he had a big snowman in front of his driveway.
Oh, and he drove through it.
And he had 29 Chevy. And we was up there all talking, and he says, I'm going to drive through that snow pile. So he backed up to go like hell anyways. And when we hit the snow pile, it was hot, so we went over and zipped over his car.
Right.
He was gonna be
You
smart.
didn't get through it.
Yeah. Then we had another stupid neighbor there that he was a little bit, I don't know what you call him anyway, but every Sunday he had an old 27 Buick.
Oh, his name was Charles.
Charles Lucas. He had 27 Buick. He'd go out and he'd take a couple of wrenches and a screwdriver and he'd put it on every nut on that damn car. God, that was loose, and they wouldn't even turn them or nothing, but that was his Sunday afternoon job. He'd go out there and touch every nut and bolt on that car and just to make sure they were tight, but they never was loose. But
They
that was
wouldn't
his-
have loose in a month, in a week,
in
but
a year, but
it
that
gave him
was his-
something to do.
Every Sunday, that's what he would do. That's what he would do.
Paul, would you like a blanket? Are you cold?
No,
No,
I'm
you're
good.
fine, okay.
No, I'm fine.
Okay,
So, and then that was crazy thing he did, and I don't know what else we did crazy up there.
I guess the last thing I'd like to ask is what you did for work after growing up on the farm. Did you want to be farmers, or what did you want to do, and what did you end up doing?
I would have
certainly-
been a farmer. My father would have lived longer, so I would have,
We could have had the
could
farm,
have had the farm. I would have been a farmer because I liked it.
but
But I
anyway,
was too young. I was only 17 when my father died, and well, when we sold it. Not when my father died, when he sold it, and I was too young to try something like that.
Then-
But I would have stayed if I would have been older.
then I married a girl from Worcester who knew nothing about a farm, and she stayed with me 2 years. Then she threatened to leave me, or if I didn't get rid of the farm, because oftentimes she'd want to go on a vacation for a couple of weeks somewhere. No, I can't go, Ruth. I got to stay home. I milk the cows. Even on Sundays, she'd want to go somewhere. Well, I'll go as long as we're home by 5 o'clock. But anyway, she didn't go for that.
So after he left, it was too much for me. I couldn't do it. I'm too young to buy it. But if I would have been old enough to buy it, I would have stayed there. I would have stayed there. 'Cause I was a working fool. I was a working fool.
He still is at
You
91.
still are.
Still
Yeah,
are.
he never
Yeah.
stops. He chops wood, for God's sakes. 20 cords last year.
No, I like to work. And I enjoyed that. I used to follow my father around all the time, all the time. I was like a little puppy with him. I was like a little puppy.
And what do you attribute your long, healthy life to?
Not drinking and smoking, working,
I guess so.
keeping busy.
We didn't have too much leisure. We always had to work. So we had
We
to-
tell people what we had to do for work today, and they just laugh at us, but we did. And we didn't have none modern equipment, we couldn't afford it, and we did everything the hard way. We did everything the hard way.
like cutting the corn, 2 rows at a time. He'd cut 2, I'd cut 2 rows by hand with a sickle,
We
you
put
know?
it down on the ground.
Yeah.
And then we'd cut till maybe 10, 11 o'clock. And then we'd go home, get the wagon. We have to stoop down, pick up them bundles, put them on a wagon. And then bring the wagon over to the corn cutter and pick it up again and put it in the corn cutter and everything else. And it was all bull work.
Right.
And hay and the same was all bull work. Just work, work, work.
I think that we're going to do some show and tell now. Maybe you could describe some of these items that you've bought, you've brought.
He brought the items.
Maybe we could start with that booklet, Bobby, if you want to just read the, what is that? That's the 1919
Read the farm.
1919.
valuation and taxes in West Brookfield.
Okay, in 1919, my father paid taxes for Joseph Beauregard, 4 horses, 30 cows, 8 yearlings, 2 2-year-olds, 300 swine, 1 swine, and 30 fowls. And he paid $70.75 for taxes. That's what he paid.
Look what Joe Frew paid. Oh, I don't know if he was there then at that time.
You wouldn't dare, it wouldn't be on the crew anyways, but anyways,
Well, just
we
see.
got Bridges here, but that's not Eva Bridges.
Well, it's her father.
Frank Bridges,
It must be.
he had 2 horses, 1 pony, 4 cows, 2 yearlings, 1 bull, 1 swine, and 21 sheep. And he paid $70.34. He had house, barn, and sheds,
Okay.
home style.
Yeah, I think that'd be her father. Because he lived up where Alvin lived.
And Paul, what are these tools that you brought here?
Well, I brought,
I can't see.
Yeah.
This is
can't see is
a
right.
cobbler's to fix shoes, but my father always used to tap our shoes and fix them, and he could do just as good as any cobbler, because he had to stand with each shoe different size. He had, I think, 4 different sizes: a little shoe, a bigger shoe, and a bigger one, and the men's shoe. And this is what he used. And this was to put the taps in. This was to work the leather, and this was to pull the taps out here in the back. And this is a cobbler's pair of pliers. That's what this is.
And that was your father's?
That's what
Yes.
my father's, yeah.
And what about this? What is that?
This was when you fixed the harnesses, you used to have to put rivets in them. And you put this little machine here, you put the rivet in, and then this little machine here would open up the rivet and expand it so that it wouldn't pull back out through again. And it's just like today when you put a grommet in, you open it up so it don't get. Well, that's what this little tool was for. Because he used to fix all the harnesses. And every spring, before warm weather come, we used to take the harnesses all apart, every piece of them, and we used to have to soak them with beechwood oil. And we'd take a rag and oil, and we would have to drag it over all the leather, and when we were done, they were just like new. And that was a job every year. We had to do that.
And what about that?
There was a knife there somewhere.
Yeah, this was they used. What he cut with this one?
You cut the thread after he sewed the harness.
Yeah,
There's some
harness,
excess
yeah,
thread.
harness knife, yeah.
And he'd have 3 strands of linen thread, and he'd
Braid it,
braid it
together.
and then he'd run it through. They call it pitch. Anyway, it was in a piece of leather and folded, but he'd warm it up and drag that thread through it, so that
Make it slippery.
it is slippery and it lasts longer.
Yeah.
You
And
couldn't.
it was easier to pull through the leather too, because he used to get leather through in big squares, like this and like this. They'd tap our shoes and everything else, and that's what he would cut the taps out of that and cut the shoes. And then even when he fixed the harnesses, he made himself an old vise,
Of harness vice.
a harness vise. I don't know where he got the idea of it, but he made one of the fanciest tools you ever see.
The plan was in the New England Homestead. That was a farm's magazine. It'd come out every week, and there was a picture of one in there. So he made it, and I'm telling you, you'd sit on it, and it was a vise. It tightened up the jaws, and the piece of leather was there, but the jaws were maybe 10 inches long, and he could sew it, you know. And then as he'd stand up, the jaws would open,
Well, they had
move the leather ahead.
the 2 jaws were like this into the machine, and then there's a big plank that went to it that he would sit on. It went this way, and when he lifted up the plank, the jaws would open, and then he'd put whatever he had to work in there. Them jaws were about 8 inches wide. He'd put whatever he had in there. Then when he sat on the board, the heavier it was, the more it would close the jaws, and then he could work on his harness, and that was all made out of oak wood. And these had to be trimmed down to nothing. He did that with an axe, and it was just as smooth as a piece of glass. And he made that whole thing himself.
What a resourceful,
I wish we had
talented guy.
that down the place around today.
I know it.
Could you see all the work that went into it?
He did
Done
all
by hand.
with no tools. He had to do that all by hand.
This is heavy.
Yeah, this is heavy. This is my brother's. And when he was going to school, we had this new kid come in there,
Yeah.
and he says to Paul, he says, "You want to play marbles?" And Paul says, "Yeah, I'll play marbles." He said, "We'll play for keeps." So Paul, he didn't know what it was. Okay, play for keeps. Well, anyway, Paul come home with no marbles. Anyway, he lost all his marbles. The other guy was better than him, and he got all of Paul's marbles anyway. So
But since
this is
then,
what Paul's got left for marbles.
that's what I got left.
That's what he got left for marbles.
I don't know if you can buy them today.
I don't know. I imagine you could.
I don't know where.
I don't know.
Maybe Amazon.
But the guy was better than Paul anyway. I think maybe.
So
he
these
cheated
are
too.
actual marbles from when you were a kid?
Yes.
That's real. The real marbles.
Wow.
And I had a pair of scissors that he would cut very thin leather. When a calf died, he'd have that leather thin. Then he used that rawhide to make laces, and he would lace the belts that would turn the machinery.
The equipment.
Yeah, the belts come in 2 parts, and then he'd punch holes in it, and then lace it, you know, with that rawhide. That rawhide was strong as heck.
He'd send that leather off someplace, I don't know where, and they would fix it for him anyway.
They would
tan it.
Can it.
They would tan it.
They soaked it in something, it had to be hemlock bark or something.
That's what they soaked it in?
That's what they started with, and that removed the hide, the fur, you might say. But I don't know what else they did to, because it'd come back like 3/16 of an inch thick, I guess, you know. It's stiff as heck.
In the wintertime, we'd have a hobby too. if we couldn't go out, all winter long, we would cut wood. If the weather was good, we'd walk up the way up the woods and cut wood, but if it was a stormy day, we would either work inside, and we always had broken windows, and we'd be puttying windows. So Father always was worried about windows, had to have windows. If the glass broke, we had to fix the window. So we always knew how to fix windows.
We learned a lot at the
learned a
farm,
lot,
because
yeah.
we had to do everything by ourselves.
Take them apart, and then we used to have it painted with linseed oil before we put the putty back on and everything else. And there were many days, snowy days in the winter, we'd be fixing windows.
I guess the last question that I have, because we only have a couple of minutes, is what do you think the most valuable lesson you learned from your parents was?
Well, I learned how to do a lot, I'll tell you. Because like I said, if anything broke in the farm machinery or anything, we had to repair
Fix
it.
it.
We'd send for the part, and then that's where we'd put the part back together.
That's where we learned what we learned, by experience. Following the father around and doing, fixing whatever he had to fix, we would be right there with him when he was fixing it. We'd be right there with him. We'd be right there with him. Because you couldn't hire, something break, you couldn't hire somebody to come fix it, you couldn't afford it, so you fix it by hand. You made the parts and you did this, and
I'd like to ask, gentlemen, as we finish this up, what advice would you give young people today?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, it's impossible to start a farm today, because just if you had to get a tractor, for God's sakes, that costs $150 maybe, and everything would be just that expensive. Oh, how much would a cow cost today? A cow would cost
about
over,
$1,500 for a good cow.
imagine that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why I think so much of the farmers have left, because everything was so darn expensive to repair or keep going. Grain used to be like $1 a bag, that was a 100-pound bag.
Well, 10, remember after the band, Pop booked it there for $10.30 a ton after the band burnt there from Gofi.
Yeah,
He come around.
so, and today grain is, my God, is terribly expensive it is.
But years ago, a farmer, if he wanted to be a farmer, he could go and he could borrow the money and he could buy a farm. They'd give him the money for about 15 or 20 cows and all, and he could make a living, and he'd end up paying for the farm and all, and he made a living. He'd bring up some kids, and they could make a living. Today, you couldn't even start to do something like that. There's more people started like that, and they made a living. They made a good living. But look at my father. He paid $4,250 for that farm. And he brought us all up and everything else, and
And it kept increasing, the number of cows that we kept as we get older.
more cows, more cows, more cows. They get more milk, they get more money and all. But I mean, he paid for the place and everything else.
In milk today, is the farmers get less than they were getting back then.
No, back in, they're getting less now than they were getting in the 80s anyway. The
Yeah.
price of milk today at the poor farmer, he's getting less money now. And grain then was maybe $12, $15 a ton, and now it's up to $300 a ton. So,
Milk is sold by the pound. It's weighed in like so much 100 pounds. What is it, like $14, $15?
now it's down to 12. Now it's down to $12 a hundred.
$12 a hundred.
Yeah.
That is roughly a little bit, about 86 quarts, I think, 100 pounds. And anyway,
40 quarts is 86 pounds.
oh, 40 quarts is 86.
Pounds.
Okay. So anyway, and then tell me about that farmer that you helped sometime up in New Braintree. Why, he switched from cows to goats.
Well, goat milk is about $56 a hundred for goat milk. Cow's milk is $12 a hundred. You don't get as much from a goat, but I mean, a goat runs a lot cheaper than a cow and everything else, so he went to goats. And he can make more money with goats. He can make more money with goats. They eat less, easier to maintain and everything else.
So I think that we're about done, so I'd like to thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge.
What number are you up to?
I think we're finished.
Oh, we finished.
Yep,
Huh,
yep, I think we're
I
done.
thought one of the
So-
questions, what did we have for a hobby?
work.
Yeah, we'd go work and have an old tire with a stick, and you'd hit it and roll it.
You know, wagon wheel tie, you know, the big iron like
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'd roll that thing with a stick. A big deal. We'd be running alongside of it.
You'd go dingle, 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 and run alongside of it.
That was your hobby?
That was a hobby, that was a pastime. That was a pastime.
Yeah, that's when we were kids.
Yeah. Anything else? I guess we're done.
Well, I wish I had Like I said, I got a pair of, if I can find them, they're great big scissors, and you used to cut the rawhide with those scissors. And I looked for it this morning, I couldn't find it. But
Oh.
it's around somewhere. I'll bring it next time I come.
Good. Thank you, gentlemen. Very
Well,
nice.
Charlie, welcome.
Thank you so much.